You know that feeling when you buy those fancy heirloom tomato seedlings from the garden center, spend all weekend building the perfect trellis, carefully fertilize, water with religious devotion, and then watch as a family of squirrels throws a rave in your raised beds and destroys everything in one afternoon? Yeah, gardening can feel like a high-maintenance relationship that just keeps ghosting you. But here's the thing nobody tells you. Growing your own food doesn't have to be a second full-time job. In fact, there's a whole underground world of vegetables that basically grow themselves. They don't care if you're lazy, they don't care if you forget to water them, they don't care if your soil looks like it came from the moon. These are the plants that thrive on neglect. So put away the spreadsheets and the fancy gadgets. We are counting down 12 vegetables that are so ridiculously easy to grow, they might actually start judging you for how hard you're trying. This is the lazy gardener's dream team. Kicking things off at number 12, we have a vegetable that is basically the gift that keeps on giving even when you forget it exists. I'm talking about zucchini. Now I know what you're thinking. Everyone talks about zucchini, but there's a reason for that. Zucchini is the overachiever of the garden world. You plant one or two seeds, and suddenly you're leaving bags of squash on your neighbor's doorstep at midnight like some kind of vegetable burglar trying to offload evidence. What makes it perfect for the lazy gardener is its complete lack of patience for your incompetence. It doesn't need coddling. You put a seed in some dirt, you water it maybe twice, and it decides it's going to take over the world. It grows so fast that you can actually watch it get bigger in a single afternoon. The key to being lazy with zucchini is to just let it do its thing. Don't fuss over it, don't try to train it up a trellis unless you have to, just let it sprawl. The massive leaves will shade out any weeds trying to compete with it, acting as its own natural mulch. And the more you harvest, the more it produces. It's like the plant equivalent of a reverse pyramid scheme, but you actually profit. Just remember to check under the leaves every few days, because if you miss one, you'll come back to a vegetable the size of a baseball bat that could double as a self-defense weapon. Moving right along to number 11, we have something that is absolutely essential if you like food that tastes like food: green beans, specifically bush beans. Now, there are two types of beans: pole beans, which want to climb to the heavens and require you to build structures for them, and bush beans, which are the lazy gardener's best friend. Bush beans are the laid-back surfers of the vegetable world. They just want to chill on the ground, soak up some sun, and give you food. You don't need a trellis, you don't need to tie them up. You just scratch a line in the dirt, drop the seeds in, cover them up, and walk away. A week later, you have plants. A month later, you have dinner. They are incredibly fast to mature, which means instant gratification for the impatient gardener. Plus, beans are legumes, which means they have a secret superpower. They actually pull nitrogen from the air and pump it into the soil. So while you're busy doing nothing, your bean plants are fertilizing your garden for you. They are improving the dirt so the next thing you plant there will grow even better. It's like having a roommate who pays your rent and does the dishes. Just make sure you pick them when they're ready. If you let them get too big and lumpy, they get tough and stringy. But honestly, if you forget, just leave them on the plant. They'll dry out, and you can harvest the seeds inside to plant next year. Zero effort, infinite loop. Number 10 is for the gardener who wants fresh gourmet food but refuses to do any work to get it: arugula. If you've ever bought a bag of mixed greens at the store and winced at the price, this one's for you. Arugula is what we call a cut-and-come-again green. You don't need to wait for a perfect head to form. You don't need to thin it out meticulously. You just sprinkle the seeds on some dirt, pat them down, and water them. In about 3 weeks, you have a carpet of spicy, peppery goodness. Here's the lazy part. When you want to make a salad, you just grab a pair of scissors and give the plants a haircut. Snip the leaves about an inch above the soil and leave the growing point intact. Then you walk away. A week later, it's grown back, and you do it again. You can get 5 or 6 harvests from a single planting before it finally decides it's done and bolts. And speaking of bolting, even that is low effort. If it gets hot and your arugula sends up a flower stalk, just let it go. The bees love the little white flowers, and eventually it will make seed pods. You can even eat those pods. They taste just like the leaves. Or let them dry and scatter the seeds yourself for the next generation. It's perpetual salad on autopilot. At number 9, we have a vegetable that is essentially the final boss of neglect: Swiss chard. If you have a black thumb, if you kill plastic plants, if your garden is just a patch of compacted clay and sorrow, Swiss chard is for you. This thing is unkillable. It laughs in the face of frost. It shrugs off the heat. It doesn't care if your soil is poor. It just sits there, looking beautiful with its bright rainbow-colored stems, asking for nothing. The leaves are huge and tender, perfect for sautéing or using in place of spinach. And just like arugula, you can harvest it as a cut-and-come-again crop. Just take the outer leaves, leave the inner ones to keep growing, and it will produce for you from spring all the way until the snow flies. It's the Energizer Bunny of the garden. It keeps going and going and going. Pests usually ignore it because the leaves are tough enough to resist most chewers. Diseases rarely touch it. It is the most reliable friend you will ever have. If you plant Swiss chard, you will have food. It's that simple. Sliding into number 8, we have a root vegetable that is essentially a storage unit you grow in the ground: potatoes. Now, I know growing potatoes sounds like a big farm operation, but you can do it in a bucket on a balcony or in a crappy patch of dirt behind your garage. Potatoes are not picky. You know those potatoes in your pantry that have started to grow little eyes? The ones you were about to throw away? Congratulations, you already have seed potatoes. You just cut them into chunks, making sure each chunk has at least one eye. Let them dry out for a day so they don't rot, and then shove them in the ground about 4 inches deep. Then you cover them and forget about them. As they grow, you just throw more dirt or straw on top of the stems whenever you remember. This is called hilling, and it just increases your yield. But if you forget, no big deal. You'll still get potatoes. They don't need constant watering, they don't need fertilizer, they just need time. Then one day, when the plants turn yellow and die back, you go digging with your hands like a kid on a treasure hunt, pulling out shiny new potatoes. It's the closest you'll ever get to finding buried treasure in your own backyard, minus the pirate curses. Number 7 is for the person who wants fresh herbs but hates keeping things alive indoors on the windowsill: garlic. You plant garlic in the fall, right before the ground freezes. You literally stick individual cloves in the dirt, pointy side up, cover them with mulch if you're feeling fancy, and then you go inside and drink hot chocolate for 4 months. You do nothing. It snows, it freezes, it thaws, and under the ground, your garlic is just chilling, getting ready. In the spring, it pops up like a green flag saying, "I survived winter, where's my breakfast?" You water it maybe a few times if it's really dry, but honestly, you don't even have to do that. By midsummer, the scapes will curl up. Cut those off and stir-fry them. They're delicious. Then, when the bottom leaves turn brown, you dig up your harvest. You now have enough garlic to last until next year. It stores for months. It tastes better than anything at the store. And you did basically nothing. You planted it during football season and harvested it during barbecue season. That's efficiency. At number 6, we have a vegetable that is truly a gift for the lazy. Perennial vegetables are the holy grail, and asparagus is the king. Now, asparagus requires a tiny bit of patience up front, which is the opposite of lazy, but hear me out. You dig a trench, you plant the crowns, you cover them, and then you wait. You don't harvest anything the first year. You barely harvest anything the second year. You're just letting it build up strength. But here's the kicker. Once that asparagus bed is established, it will produce for 20 to 30 years. You do the work once, and you get paid back for 3 decades. Every spring, those fat spears will push up through the soil like nature's own delivery service. You just snap them off at ground level, steam them, and eat them with hollandaise sauce. No replanting, no major maintenance, just a little weeding if you're feeling motivated, but you can also just mulch heavily and let the asparagus outcompete everything else. It is the ultimate set-it-and-forget-it crop. It turns your garden into a low-maintenance perennial paradise. Number 5 is about a vegetable that seems fancy but is actually a weed in disguise: kale. We've all seen the smoothie bowls and the health food trends, but kale is just a rugged, tough-as-nails plant that doesn't know how to die. It's basically cabbage's rebellious cousin that dropped out of school to live off the grid. You can plant kale in early spring, and it will sit there producing leaves until the temperature drops to 20 below zero. Seriously, frost makes it sweeter. Snow can bury it, and it just waits for you to dig it out. It's immune to most pests because the leaves are too tough for them to eat. And like the others, you just pick the outer leaves and let the center keep growing. It's the gift that keeps giving through all 4 seasons. You don't need to blanch it, you don't need to protect it, you just need to look at it occasionally and say, "Good job," and it will keep feeding you. At number 4, we have something that is perfect for the gardener who has more shade than sun: leafy lettuce. Specifically loose-leaf varieties like black-seeded Simpson or oak leaf. Head lettuce is needy. It wants perfect temperatures, perfect spacing, and perfect timing. Loose-leaf lettuce doesn't care. You can scatter seeds in a patch of dirt that only gets a few hours of sun and it will grow. You can plant it in a pot, a window box, or an old boot. It's not picky. And because it grows so fast, you can outrun most of the pests and diseases. Slugs might take a nibble, but you'll get your harvest before they can do real damage. Just keep planting a small patch every few weeks and you'll have fresh salads all summer. But even if you don't succession plant, one good patch will keep you in greens for a month if you just keep harvesting the outer leaves. Number 3 is where we get into the weird stuff that people forget about. Radishes. Radishes are the ultimate confidence builder. If you have kids, plant radishes. If you have impatience, plant radishes. They are ready to eat in as little as 3 weeks from seeding. 3 weeks! You can almost watch them grow. They don't need rich soil. In fact, they prefer poor soil. Rich soil just gives you huge tops and tiny roots. So throw some seeds in the worst part of your yard, water them when you remember, and 3 weeks later you have spicy, crunchy globes to slice onto your tacos or salads. They're the fast food of the garden world, but actually healthy. And if you let a few go to seed, you'll have more radishes next year without lifting a finger. Number 2 is a plant that will make you feel like a foraging ancestor. Perennial herbs, specifically oregano and thyme. You buy these little plants once. One time, you put them in the ground, and then they live forever. They're drought tolerant, meaning they'll survive even if you go on vacation for 2 weeks and forget to set the sprinkler. They are pest resistant. They spread slowly, filling in the gaps and suppressing weeds. And anytime you're cooking pasta, pizza, or roasting meat, you just walk outside with a pair of scissors and cut a few sprigs. They don't die back in a way that requires work. They just exist. They're the ultimate low-maintenance, high-flavor crop. If you plant oregano and thyme, you will literally never have to buy dried herbs again. Ever. And finally, the number 1 vegetable that is too easy to grow, the champion of the lazy gardener, the plant that requires absolutely nothing from you except a patch of dirt. It's the Jerusalem artichoke, also known as sunchokes. This is not an artichoke. It's a native North American sunflower that grows knobby, delicious tubers underground. Here's why it's number 1. You plant a few tubers one time. That's it. The end. They will come back every single year, thicker and thicker, whether you want them to or not. They are perennial. They survive droughts, floods, and neglect. They grow 8 feet tall with beautiful yellow flowers that feed the bees. And in the fall, after the first frost, you dig down and find pounds and pounds of nutty, sweet tubers that you can roast just like potatoes. But here's the catch, and it's the only catch. If you plant them, you will never, ever get rid of them. Even if you try to dig them all up, you will miss one tiny piece, and next year you'll have another giant sunflower patch. It's the plant that owns you, not the other way around. And for a lazy gardener, that's the ultimate relationship, a plant that doesn't need you, but always provides. So there you have it, 12 vegetables that are practically begging you to ignore them. You don't need a green thumb. You don't need fancy equipment. You don't even need a backyard. Half this stuff grows in buckets on a balcony. The only thing standing between you and fresh, homegrown food is the decision to start. Pick one vegetable from this list, just one. Plant it somewhere, anywhere, and watch what happens. You'll be hooked. You'll taste the difference. You'll feel that weird pride of growing your own dinner, and you'll wonder why the entire world isn't doing this. If you want more lazy gardening inspiration, if you want to turn your patch of dirt into something that actually feeds you without turning you into a slave to the soil, then hit that subscribe button. Join the family and never miss another harvest. Because the garden doesn't have to be complicated. It just has to grow. This has been your guide to doing less and getting more. This is Everyday Harvest, and we'll see you in the garden.